Hi, I'm Darren Carrington, Video Impact Coach. Thanks for swinging by today. Now, today's message has been prompted by something I saw posted in a Facebook group yesterday. And that post was, I'm the most introverted extrovert I know. And that post in itself prompted a whole host of responses by people saying, yeah, I'm introverted, I'm a bit of both, or I'm extroverted, and it's been wonderful for me to help me develop in certain areas of my life and my business over the years. Great. Now, it doesn't really matter to me which end of the scale you're on, whether you're introverted or extroverted. I don't think it really has an impact on how that really translates into your life. Okay, you might think, yes, it does. And I guess it does to a certain degree. But if you are introverted, it doesn't mean to say that you can't push yourself beyond a certain position to get yourself out there. And it's all about creating awareness and having an understanding as to who we are at a deeper level. And that's what I do with my clients. I work on a foundation course. To establish these foundations, we need to know who we are at a core level. So if you think about how we show up most of the time, we don't really give too much thought as to how we show up to the world because we're too busy thinking about how we show up to ourselves. So with my clients, I work through this foundation course and we really look at what an individual's preferred behavioural style is, because that translates into their preferred presentation style. And once we can understand these, we can have a bit of a breakthrough moment, that aha moment. Now, how do we do that? Well, there are various tools available on the market to help us identify what our preferred behavioural style is. Now, the one that I use is called DISC. If you're not familiar with DISC, DISC is the brainchild of Dr. William Moulton Marston, who through his work identified that the human behaviour could be measured on two axes. So how we tend to be around people and approach tasks, and also our preferred pace in which we like to go through our environment. Now, if you start to put that into some sort of model, we've got the horizontal, so the task and the people. We've got the vertical, somebody who's maybe fast-paced and outspoken compared to somebody who's more cautious and reflective, prefers to go at maybe a slower pace. How does that then start to identify who we are? Well, if I'm an individual that I prefer a fast pace of life and I'm outspoken, but I'm more focused on the task, that would put me in a dimension of what we call a D, which is somebody who's quite dominant and very decisive. So I'm quite highly developed in my D score. Then if we go across to the other side, where we're more focusing on the people, but we're still above the line. So we're still focusing on somebody who's fast paced and outspoken, but we're more aligned to focusing on the people, then that's somebody who would be more influential, more interactive, and that would be what we'd known as a highly developed I. So you can see with the D and the I are starting to come in. So now if we drop below the center line, so we're still focusing on the people, but we're dropping down, so somebody who's more cautious and reflective, that's somebody who would be more in terms of their steadiness and stability. That's going to put us in a highly developed S dimension. And then we look to the other side of that center line. So now we're still focusing on somebody who's cautious and reflective, but they're more about the task. That's somebody who would be cautious or conscientious. So that's going to give them a highly developed C dimension. So there you have it, the D, the I, the S, and the C, DISC. Now, if we start to go around and start to look at some of these words that align and really identify what a high D would be. If you look at a D who's somebody who really loves a challenge, they're very results driven, and there's somebody who really takes action. You can see these three words that might resonate with somebody that you know. It might be yourself. So somebody who loves a challenge, results driven, very action oriented, that's great. Now that action is something that's carried over into the I dimension as well. Now that I dimension is somebody who's fast paced, very outspoken, but also much about the people. They're very much into taking action. They're very enthusiastic as well, and they love to collaborate with people. So you can see where that's starting to differ from where a D might be to an I. And then we drop down to the S. Again, they share that collaborative approach. Somebody with an I and an S, they share that collaboration element as well. But also an S is somebody who likes to give support, receive support, and also they like stability in their life as well. So then we start to go over to the C, who C also shares that stability preference as well. They also focus on the accuracy, but then they start to come up and start to share something with the D, which is the element of loving a challenge, but they'll do it in a very cautious way. Okay, so now we've got the D, the I, the S, and the C. We have a deeper understanding as to who we are. But what does that mean in terms of those preferred styles of communication? So somebody who's a D prefers the rapid pace, but very limited with emotion compared to an I. Again, they prefer the rapid pace. They're very friendly, very upbeat. And then compared to the S, they prefer a slower pace, but they're very warm, very caring individuals. And then we go to the C, somebody who's more of a moderate pace, but they're very business-like and they're very formal in how they do things, very much by the book. rules, regulations, driven by formalities. So you can see if we're trying to communicate maybe a D to an S, think about what I said. Somebody who likes a fast-paced environment and very limited with emotion, that's a D. And somebody who is an S, who prefers a slower pace, very, very warm, very caring. These two messages or preferred styles of communications, the messages to deliver that communication is going to be very different, obviously diagonally opposed here. So if you've got somebody who's a D, they like it short, sharp and to the point, that could be deemed by somebody who's highly developed in their S dimension as being quite abrupt, quite rude, or even, you know, very unfriendly. So you can see, if we're going up on camera and we don't have any idea and awareness around how we show up to the world in terms of our preferred communication style, that could have a negative impact on how our message is received or even not received, depending on who's watching that particular video or Facebook Live at any given time. So today has really been an opportunity to create some awareness around who we are at a deeper level. But we're talking about, you know, an introvert can be going into a situation and thriving. Now, if we talk about our preferred behavioural style, we've talked about that. That is driven from a very subconscious delivery. So we get up, we go out into the world and we just do what we do so naturally, so congruent and so authentic. We don't have to think about it. That changes though when we get into a situation where our environment changes or something we're specifically working on. We notice the difference. We become very conscious. Then all of a sudden we go into what we call an adaptive style. An adaptive style, we as individuals can vary the length of time we can be comfortable within our adaptive style. So for any introvert, I would say to you, look, if that is your preferred style and you're introvert, and that doesn't mean to say you're shy, it just means to say that you maybe prefer a slower pace and you're more cautious and reflective in how you go about things, that's fine. But you can adapt as well. On a limited time, you can adapt. So you can put yourself on camera. It might stretch you a little bit, but you can put yourself on camera and you can put yourself out there for that limited time to get your message out to the world. Now, it might seem alien to you initially. Why wouldn't it? But it's like anything. The more we do it, the more at ease we'll become with it as well. And the easier it will become, and it is. It's all about practice over time. So if you are introverted, don't hold yourself back any longer. You are needing to put yourself out there in the world of video and Facebook Live now, so embrace it. If you need any help identifying what your style is and how you might be able to learn a little bit more, I can certainly help with you on that. So you can either put something in the comments below or reach out, connect with me on a one-to-one, and we can talk that through as well. So today, just a very brief snapshot on how we might be able to get through and understand ourselves at a deeper level by working with DISC and creating that power of personality in how we show up to the world and how we might need to adapt our communication style to effectively get our message across to somebody else, especially when we're trying to connect with clients and see and understand what their needs are and how we can then really resonate with their needs and their pain points. So that's about it from me today. Any questions, please pop them in the comments below and the description below, and I look forward to catching up with you again soon.